views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hola everyone, and welcome to OpenBX RX Remote, our special coverage from my living workspace, Chari Executive Suites, where we continue to provide you with up-to-date information regarding COVID-19 and the impact it's having on our community. I'm Rina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche every Friday. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we'll speak to mayoral candidate Diane Morales about the latest on the COVID-19 pandemic and her action, our initiative to help the community during this difficult time. After that, we'll hear about Be Unidos Vale Hispánicos Instagram video series and the organization's 50th anniversary celebrating dance, culture, and more. Then we'll find out about Pregone's 4th edition of the 21 Islands International Short Film Fest that will now be featured online for everyone to enjoy. And last but not least, this week's Open Artist Spotlight features Bronx native singer and songwriter Karen Abreu, who will give us a glimpse into her world through music. So, sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way, because now we are officially open. Welcome to Open. I'm Rina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche for the next hour. Always inviting you to get social with us, especially during these social distancing times. Make sure to follow us and tweet us at BronxNet TV. And while you're there, follow me on FB, Instagram, LinkedIn at Rina Valentin. So the COVID-19 pandemic continues to leave New York City on pause, and people are losing their jobs, and small businesses continue to be uncertain, and children are learning remotely, while elders are isolated and left to fend for themselves. While technology loans itself to connecting, well, what type of impact is this having on the underserved communities? Our next guest is here to share ways she's contributing to the wellness of these communities. Please welcome New York City mayoral candidate Diane Morales. Hi, Diane.
Hi, Rina. ¿Cómo está?
I'm good. And you? How are you?
Hanging in there. Thank you. I think, blessed to have a roof over my head and a healthy family.
Absolutely. That's exactly the space I think we all need to remain in. And so thank you for coming. You and I first met this January at the Women's March, right? You were one of the speakers up on that stage. And I wanted to introduce you to our viewers and just share a little bit of your background. So I wanted, first and foremost, because inquiring minds want to know, at least mine does, how is it that someone like yourself, who basically got her graduate's degree at Harvard and Columbia, and I know you got your undergraduate at Stony Brook, right?
That's correct.
However, I also understand that you went and became a case manager, a welfare case manager, and then from there you became a special education teacher, and then became the CEO of FIPS Neighborhood Community Development Programs in New York City, right? So when you attended these schools, is this what you had in mind?
Well, I would say no, not exactly. I'll start off by saying that when I was younger, as I was sort of moving up through the education system, one of the things that happened fairly early on was that I recognized that I grew up in Bed-Stuy. And I recognized that as I got farther along in the education system, a lot of the kids from my community were not sort of following along the same path, right? And that the farther I got, the fewer students that looked like me were in the classrooms. So I think I realized from a really early age that I felt like I needed to do something to change that, right? But so that's how I explored it. I was a case manager in foster care and a special ed teacher in what was a size 7 classroom, specialized instruction environment 7.
And so
And
when
I
you
had
went, yeah, sorry, sorry, I thought you were going to pause for a moment. Continue.
No. So I just, the sort of the pivotal moment for me in terms of answering your question was as a special ed teacher. I was not trained, but I was really enthusiastic and really passionate and full of ideas. And I would go to my assistant principal all the time with questions and just needing support. And the day she said to me, I don't care what you do with those kids, keep them in the classroom, keep the door shut and keep them quiet, was the day that I sort of knew that I needed to find a way, a path to come back into the system and be able to create structural change, because people like that didn't have our children's best interests at heart.
Right. And so how do you train people to care about their work? Because really, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think so for me, one of the things that I've always focused on a lot in my leadership roles in particular was figuring out how to help people on the front lines, the people that are responsible for delivering the direct service, really feel like they had a stake and an investment in the goals, really feel like they had a role in helping to determine what that was and what the needs were and how to best meet those needs. So I did feel a sense of investment and pride that's different from sort of the traditional top-down approach and strategy. And so I think there's something to be said for recognizing the expertise and the skills and the competence that the people on the front line bring to bear on these roles, and that many of them are just like a paycheck away from the clients that they serve, right? So how do you incorporate them in creating the solutions to the challenges that our communities face?
Right, which is, of course, in building community, obviously something you're very good at doing. And so based on the fact that you were the CEO, right? Because you're no longer the CEO at Phipps, right? But yet
Right.
you continue to work towards building community and serving these poverty-stricken communities. And so talk a little bit about why you've chosen to create this wellness action hour. It's a
Right.
wellness call action hour. And who are you targeting? Like what households and where are you getting that information from? Like, how do you know who to call?
Yeah. So a couple of things, once the crisis hit, once it became clear that this was not going to be sort of a blip on our radar, the campaign, we pivoted our activities to trying to figure out how we could provide supports and resources to the community. The first thing that we did was to build out a very comprehensive resource page that lives on our website at dianne.nyc. And that resource page gets refreshed at least twice a week. We continuously add resources. We vet them to make sure that they're valid and current, so that it can be a sort of dynamic source of information for the community. That site has been identified by Eleanor's Legacy as being one of the most comprehensive sites for COVID resources.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And so just so that everyone's aware, what kind of resources are we referencing?
So these are resources for immigrant communities. These are resources for people who have lost their jobs. These are resources for small businesses who are looking for support. These are resources for people who might be living at home with in a domestic violence situation, or who might be, isolated at home. So it's pretty comprehensive. It's also, mental health supports, spiritual supports, exercise stuff for people that are, struggling at home. So just everything pretty much.
Right. Now, so now there's where your psychology expertise comes in, right? We forgot to mention that you also got a degree in psychology at Stony Brook. And so mental wellness is at the forefront for you in your motivation behind all of this.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's important, especially right now when people are really sheltering in place. You can go stir crazy. There's a reason why that expression exists, right? And so figuring out, we can be healthy physically, but if we're not taking care of ourselves emotionally and psychologically, that can cause just as much damage. And so it's really important to be mindful of that. And right now, our seniors in particular are experiencing the greatest amount of challenges as they are increasingly isolated. So it's important to provide those resources and that connectivity.
So before we go, I understand that you are seeking volunteers. Can you just share what these wellness calls entail?
Sure. So We provide some training to our volunteers, provide a little bit of a script, although different people, if they're comfortable with it, can sort of take it in their own direction. It's a check-in call. It's a hi, we're calling to see if you're doing okay. Do you need anything? Can we connect you to resources? Sometimes it's just like a chat, with somebody who hasn't had their phone ring all day. And then it's connecting them if they need something. It's connecting them to resources based on the information that we've collected. So we can actually make if somebody's in need of food, we can connect them with somebody who can help them get food. And those kinds of things.
And so you have one coming up on Saturday, right? And
yes,
it's just an hour of a person's time that you're asking.
That's correct. It's an hour. It's in this format. It's kind of like everybody's doing it together. So there's a shared sense of community even among the volunteers. And then at the end, you get a sense of, I think the last one we did last week that they called 187 people in an hour. So it's really an opportunity to feel like you're doing something productive and constructive for the people that need it most at this point in time.
Beautiful. And so lastly, before we discuss the volunteers, what about the people who are looking for the call?
Yeah. It's a really interesting thing, Rina. I have started getting calls on my personal cell phone. I can't tell you how it happened, but my number has started circulating, in particular among seniors who are homebound. Right. I got a call this morning from someone saying that they needed food. So word of mouth is a really powerful thing. We had a list of people that we started off calling, but that has grown because, someone who calls and someone who gets a call and gets help then can pass that on to someone else and say, hey, if you need something, these people are really delivering. So it's just the network has spread in that way, very, very organically.
So, okay, so that's word of mouth. So if they go to your website, do they also have the ability to sign up?
Yes.
Not only for volunteering, for the possible phone call?
Yes, they can absolutely sign up if there's a form on the page at the website, and they can indicate what their need is. There's also people can also sign up to offer additional information. If you become aware of a resource that you don't see on the page and you want to share it, you can share it that way. We'll vet it and we'll put it up too.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your commitment to our community, and thank you for taking the time to talk with us today, Diane. Good luck on your candidacy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right, you guys, once again, for more on the Action Hour wellness calls with Diane Morales and local resources regarding COVID-19, you can visit diane.nyc. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll learn about Ballet Hispanico's motivational video series in response to COVID-19. Don't go anywhere.
During a pandemic, people of color are the most susceptible for many reasons, including poverty and lack of access to quality health care. New York, which is approximately 24% Black and 29% Latino, is being hit the hardest with COVID-19. Preliminary data from the New York City Department of Health shows that 33% of COVID-19 cases resulting in death have been Black, while Latinos account for 28% of COVID-related fatalities. Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, acknowledged health inequalities in low-income, predominantly Black and brown communities.
Health disparities have always existed for the African American community. But here again, with the crisis, how it's shining a bright light on how unacceptable that is. Because yet again, when you have a situation like the coronavirus, they are suffering disproportionately.
Not only do people of color have to worry about health disparities during a pandemic, but implicit biases as well. A recent video documents a police officer following two Black men in an Illinois Walmart for wearing protective masks.
He just followed us from outside, told us that we cannot wear masks. There's a presidential order, there's a state order, and he's following us right now to the store. We're being asked to leave for being safe.
Vincent Sutherland served as an attorney for the Bronx Defenders and is now executive director for the Center on Race, Inequality, and the Law at NYU. Sutherland says that implicit biases are not new, but times of crisis can heighten already ingrained biases.
This pandemic or any disaster really does not erase the threat that people view your skin color as posing to the rest of the world. And I think that threat and the fear that kind of accompanies it have been ingrained in all of our minds, in our collective consciousness since this nation's founding.
In a press briefing, Governor Cuomo required all New York State residents to wear mouth and nose coverings while in public.
I'm going to issue an executive order that says all people in public must have a mask or nose covering, mouth and nose covering.
Many supermarkets and shops have begun implementing the mandate and denying entry to people without face coverings. But what does this mean for communities of color?
We have always kind of tied race to criminality and dangerousness in this country. There's almost a presumption of criminality that attaches to your skin color. And wearing a bandana, wearing a mask, or things like that kind of activate all the types of stereotypes that go along with that presumption of criminality that already is attached to your skin.
And what if you are stopped by police?
You should do everything you can to try and de-escalate the situation, to try and speak calmly to the officer, to try and demonstrate that you are not going to try and pose a threat to them in any way. But I don't want to sugarcoat it and make it seem like if you just behave nicely, that police officers are going to leave you alone. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I am saying is that it's great to invoke your rights, but on the street and in the moment, a court of law is not going to save you. You want to be sure that you survive the situation so that you can hold them accountable afterwards.
Now, Mr. Sutherland says if you do have an encounter with a law enforcement officer over lack of PPE and you believe that encounter was unjust, you can always reach out to the agencies below. Reporting for BronxNet, Darissa White.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our remote version of Open. So Ballet Hispanico, the well-known dance organization, is celebrating 50 years of Latino culture through dance. And in response to COVID-19, like everyone else turning towards remote presentations, Ballet Hispanico has put in place Be Unidos. It's a video series that features a week filled with interactive activities for everyone to engage during these unprecedented times. And joining us to tell us more, we welcome Artistic Director and CEO of Ballet Hispanico, Eduardo Vilaro. Hola, Eduardo.
Hola, hola querida, ¿cómo estás?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Holding up, staying strong.
Staying strong in front of beautiful paintings I see.
Yes, thank you. This is the Cuban artist, Cuban Asian artist, Wilfredo Lam.
Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous, gorgeous.
Thank you.
Thank you for blessing us with that fabulous backdrop.
I love the vibrancy of the colors, and it just says so much about who we are as Latinos and Latinas.
Yes, and that's what you represent. So first of all, congratulations on your 50th anniversary. I mean, not you, but the organization itself.
Thank you. We're looking good for 50.
Yes, absolutely. Looking fabulous, darling.
So thank you. It's a shame that it's happened. We started our 50th anniversary and we were gung-ho on so many programs, and we had a beautiful 2-week season at the Joyce, but of course all of that was canceled. So with the hard realities for the artist and for us, we decided that we still have to keep celebrating, and that's why we began Be Unidos, or Be United, this online campaign.
And so Be Unidos, all right, so I like looking at the flip side of this, this pause, as we're calling it. What's happened now is, while yes, you may have been dancing physically on stage, right now you're connecting technically with people from all over the world.
Right. Well, the beauty of it is that we're still dancing physically. So every day of the week in this Be Unidos campaign is a video series that allows everyone to engage either with a work that we've done. So we have watch parties. Every Wednesday we have a watch party, or we have Motivational Mondays. We have Ballet Hispanico guests come in and give a motivational quote for everyone. Take Back Tuesdays is when you can take a class. And so we have our artists and our teachers teaching classes. Huepa Wednesdays is our watch parties. So
Huepa Wednesdays, what are the watch parties?
So the watch parties are our work. So we have, we show last week, we showed Con Brazos Abiertos, which is Michelle Manzanales's piece. And then afterwards, we have conversations and cocktails. So I have a conversation with the choreographer immediately following, so people can ask questions and they can get into the work a little bit more. And then after Wednesdays, we have Therapeutic Thursdays, which we give things like Pilates, yoga, ways of keeping your body in tone. And then my favorite, really, although I love Wet by Wednesdays, are Flashback Fridays, which it gives you a sense of the 50-year history with pictures and discussions. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds fun. So, okay, so this video series is, the main platform is Instagram, but the sessions that you're having, is that on Instagram Live or is it on the website? How does one become part of that? Is that a Zoom conversation?
Oh my gosh, thank you. That's a great question. We are giving access to everyone. So you can find us. The watch parties are on Facebook Live and Instagram Live, but you can see it on Facebook. You can also see it on YouTube. We have our YouTube channel working. So if not all of us are super tech savvy. Right. So YouTube is the easiest way to see this stuff. And so we'll be putting things on. But on our Facebook page, you can be directed to all of that.
Okay, but if one wanted to participate in the live taping of it, right, and be there and write in the comments and be part of the activity, what time do you normally do that?
That's Wednesdays, and we always put out join us on ballethispanico.org. We have notices of what time. The times vary because the works vary in length, but usually around 7 o'clock we're having the talkback session after we show the work. The work is shown around 5:30.
Beautiful. And so, all right. So just so I'm visualizing, right? I have fun going through the Instagram page, and I noticed that we just recently had Ayodeli Casel, and I loved seeing her.
Oh my gosh.
I know, we love her. We love her too. So it was lovely to see her recite a poem or a spoken word that really resonated with her. I love that concept where you have people kind of quoting a motivational quote of what that resonates with them and sharing it. And these are people who are associated with Ballet Hispanico, not necessarily dancers, right?
Correct, because we don't live in a vacuum. It's not just us. We have We're the Latinx community. We have connections and tendrils all over the place. So Ayodeli and I are friends, but also, we try to support her work. So it's, Ballet Hispanico continues to be this resource organization for all Latinas and Latinos who in the dance world. And so now it's a great time because we call on them to give their motivational talks, and everyone has been so wonderful. And they've said yes, and they're so excited about adding their voices to staying united, to being unidos.
I love it. And I noticed that when I was saying that, dancing physically, I meant dancing physically on stage, but I noticed that now people are using rooftops as their backdrops. And
I know,
people
isn't that
are dancing
amazing?
in different places, which is awesome because now it's another layer of creativity added on to the presentation.
Yeah. I mean, it continues. I think what this is really showing us, this kind of social distancing, physical distancing is showing us, is the power of the arts and how the arts transcend anything, because it is from us. It is it embodies all of who we are, and most of all, it embodies our spirit. So I just hope that as we move forward from this phase, that people will recognize once this is over how important the arts are.
And so with the Flashback Friday, which stood out for me as well, and I think it's important that people pay attention to Flashback Friday because you are celebrating 50 years, and that's a big accomplishment. And the fact that you're providing the history behind it, it's important for us to know our history. So just share a little bit more about Flashback Fridays before we go.
So Flashback Fridays gives you the opportunity to view the arc of 50 years at Ballet Hispanico. So we started with Tina Ramirez, our founder, and some photos. Then we added playbills so you could see yourself. And one of the things we're doing also is we're adding photos, stock photos that we've had, but we don't know who the dancers are. So we're asking dancers to reach out and kind of circle yourself and say, that's me, and then share something of their time at Ballet Hispanico. So it's a really fun way of not only sharing history, but sharing the community, how they've grown and where they are today.
And beautiful, because now you're actually reaching into the past to interact with everyone who's been a contribution.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
lovely. Well,
Listen, I
once
have to
again-
tell you, we're in a pause, but you look fabulous.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll
I'm
take
loving
that.
the full curliness of the hair. Great.
I'm blushing because, because truth be told, is I only get like this for the show. Other than that, I'm in pañuelos and Rona batas. I call them Rona batas.
Right. I put a nice shirt on for you today. So yeah, I get it.
Thank you. So, are there any last words before we go?
Yes, I'm just so grateful for this interview. I think it's important to keep the communication to people alive, and you're doing that, and BronxNet is doing that, and I'm really thankful for that. Everybody who has a voice can really support each other at this moment, because we are united. No matter what where we're from, we're all united.
Absolutely. And I think it's important that we acknowledge each other. And, for those who don't know, Eduardo Vilaro is one of our Bronx Walk of Famers. So congratulations on everything you've accomplished thus far. And once again, happy anniversary, Mr. 50 years old. I meant Ballet Hispanico.
Right. We'll keep it there.
All right. You guys, once again, for more information on Ballet Hispanico, you can visit ballethispanico.org, and to follow Be Unidos video series, you can follow them on Instagram at Ballet Hispanico and also on Facebook. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about a diverse film festival you don't want to miss. Welcome back to Open Remote. So Pregones PRTT Theater presents its fourth edition of the 21 Islands International Short Film Fest that features films from island territories and island nations from around the world. Filmmakers are able to showcase diverse culture through short films. And joining us to tell us more about the film festival, we welcome 21 Islands International Short Film Festival curator Melissa Ramos and film director Juliana Maite Irizarry. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
How's everyone holding up during these unprecedented times?
Doing okay.
Yeah, Juliana, you're chiming in from Florida, right?
Yes, Miami Lakes, Florida.
Yeah. Are you originally from Miami?
No, I moved from Puerto Rico 6 years ago.
Just recently?
Yes. And I'm still half of the time in the island, working and going back to family and home. It's still home for me.
I hear you. It's just the whole thing has, I think, all of us a little disoriented. So I was just curious to know. But Melissa, let's talk about the new version of the 21 Islands Film Festival, right? It's now been switched over to remote, just like everything else. I understand that the film festival has already opened up online since April 15th. It's available on Pregones' website. So tell me a little bit about what has been shifted in order to accommodate the film festival that would have normally taken place at Pregones' actual physical space.
Well, first of all, the fact of having it more days and extending it, right? So now it's 15 days, and the films are 24/7 on the website. The reason we also gave it a limited period is because some festivals, if you have aired online, then they don't take your film. So I did not want to affect the filmmakers in the future.
I see.
So I consulted all the filmmakers if they agreed. So I had to kind of change the rules again and ask, and everyone was super excited and grateful that their films were still going to be seen.
So just share with the viewers what places are represented during this year's festival. I have here written like Australia, Croatia, Cuba. So who's being presented this year?
So this year we have Montreal, Puerto Rico, Cuba, we have Canarias, we have islands from Italy, Rosita, we have Australia, UK, Ireland, we have Tenerife, another island in Spain, we have Croatia.
Yeah. And so Juliana, while she's in Florida, she's also the director of Pasos, right? El Paso. And but originally she's from Puerto Rico, which she introduced herself in. El Paso is a film that was shot in Puerto Rico. Let's talk a little bit about that, Juliana.
Yes, it was completely shot in Puerto Rico. It was part of a competition that is done every year as part of the Alianza Francesa. And they do, as part of the European Film Festival, they do a segment of Puerto Rican short films. And then we compete. And that was last year. And we won last year best film and best screenplay. Yes, and it was an amazing experience always to go back to Puerto Rico and shoot with the amazing Puerto Rican film crews, working with new actors as well. And it was all shot in the area of San Justo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it has like that San Justo feel. Yeah.
No, I like that you shared that you hired locally, right? So that we can generate some revenue for the island. That's important.
Definitely, yes. I every year I try to shoot something there, or either another crew invites me as their script supervisor. So I always keep active in the island.
So Melissa, how do you decide what films are going to be featured every year?
Wow. This year we received almost 2,000. And so first, well, it's by the islands, by the content and the stories. And I go for the stories. So the stories that touch you, that present a topic that can make you curious. And sometimes there's a film that may not be as outstanding in cinematography, but the story is so outstanding that I include it.
Right. And then you have a panel of judges, myself included, but this year you've actually opened it up to the audience as well.
Yes, so the audience can, on the website, they can vote. So you will find one video with each screening, and then you'll have a ballot to vote for the shorts.
So Juliana, I'm curious to know how you were chosen to be the director to represent the film festival, along with the actual film festival's director for today's segment. What's your association to 21 Island Short Film Festival?
Well, I was part of the first edition of the festival. I actually flew to New York and was able to personally attend the Perdones Theater with my screenwriter and actress, who is also the screenwriter and actress of this short.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yes. So yes, it was an amazing experience. I remember distinctively the first edition. It snowed for the first time in New York. And one of my producers had never seen snow. We were like, wow, coming out of the theater. It was amazing to be connected as filmmakers and as humans in that way.
Yes,
so, yeah.
I know. we're certainly missing that right now, aren't we?
Yeah. Definitely. So that year we presented La Llave de mi Corazón, or The Key to My Heart. And also from Puerto Rico, another one of my films was also curated from my time in Cuba. I studied in Cuba. Queso de Cabra was also screened at that first edition of the festival. So it's an honor to be part of it.
So before we go, really quickly, what time is your film screening? Is it available 24 hours online? And what do you want to leave people with regarding El Paso?
El Paso, or the step, for me is a conversation starter because it touches a very rare area of our experiences as women, but also as human beings. It's about a character who has to choose between her humanity and revenge. It has to do with the catcalling and the gray line between this rape culture that we live in. Right. So I believe it's screening 24/7, right, Melissa?
Yes, and it's in
group number 4.
In group number 4. Correct.
Okay, so Melissa, really quickly, because we're going to run out of time, I want people to understand how they can watch the film festival and participate in the film festival. So walk us through the steps before we go.
So first thing, you go to pregonesprtt.org. On the main page, you're going to find the icon of 21 Islands. You click there, and you're going to find the 5 groups. And under each group are the voting ballots. So you can go one by one or do one day and see 1 hour. The screenings are no more than 80 minutes or 90 each one. And
right.
we
and they're all short films. They're all short films. So some of them are like a few minutes, but it's like a whole bunch of them compiled together in a block.
Yes. And we also have a screening for children. That's number 3. That's the longest.
All right. Well, I want to thank you both, ladies. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and hang in there. Thank you for bringing arts and culture to our living rooms and making it convenient. Thank you for joining us, Juliana. And you guys, once again, to watch any of the short films featured in 21 Islands International Short Film Fest, you can visit pregones.org. All right. Don't go anywhere. Bobby C is up next.
We begin with a recap of IndyCar's latest in the virtual world. NASCAR stars are flocking to the series.
Roger Penske said this week that he expects more doubleheaders for NASCAR and IndyCar when the real thing gets back. Is it exciting to be part of this new movement to join the two of them together?
Oh, definitely. Series can come together, I think, and provide more value for the fans. They can provide more, action for the drivers to really take in or soak in different experiences, and maybe that'll lead to more crossover from different drives. We're all pretty excited and confident that Roger is leading that charge and is probably the best person positioned to get something like that done.
New stars aside, for the second straight week, Simon Pagenaud is your race winner.
What's fun to me, it's actually that you're racing the exact same guys as usual. You see the exact same moves as you would in real life, and you keep turning your wheels, in your head. So it's not really idle time for us right now. We're racing, and we're racing on the weekend, and that gives me a lot of joy.
Up-and-coming IndyCar star Colton Herta paid tribute to the late, great Hank Steinbrenner. We asked him about it and much more.
Joined now by second-generation IndyCar race car driver Colton Herta on the show. Colton, thank you so much for taking the time and spending some time with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
This is, of course, a very tough time for everyone, a very challenging time, but especially for you guys with the sudden passing of Hank Steinbrenner, co-owner, co-chairman of the New York Yankees. Tell me a little bit about the relationship that you had with him. I know that you got a chance to meet him when you were just 14 years old.
Yeah, that's really where the relationship grew from. My dad actually raced against George's stepfather. Hank's son, George. And so I was actually at a race in St. Petersburg, Florida, right there in Tampa. So I went to a spring training game and got to meet Hank. Instantly, you kind of understand how powerful of a person this guy is as soon as you start to hear him talk. So yeah, but it was super cool, super great guy. Excellent to meet him, and then obviously for what he did for me, I owe so much to him.
And you have the right hat on today for today's segment.
Yeah.
The number 88 Honda that you just got a chance to drive, of course, in Motegi with this virtual racing paid homage to Hank Steinbrenner's memory. Again, you mentioned that he is someone that's been a big part of your young career and your success so far. Tell us a little bit about the livery for the number 88 Honda.
It's with Capstone, which is our normal sponsor, which typically the car's green. Now we have the Yankee blue and white, and we have pinstripes down the side of it. It looks really sleek. It looks really cool. And obviously we have a little touch of having a little HS sticker on each side of the side pods.
So you've had unbelievable success so far. I mean, to be only 20 years old and the youngest race car driver in the series to win an event, and to be able to kind of be paired with George Michael Steinbrenner IV, who is the youngest IndyCar owner. You guys have been some team and had a long-lasting friendship. Tell us a little bit more about that partnership and what it's also meant to Andretti.
The whole Steinbrenner family has done so much for me. I don't think I would ever have made it financially to the top levels without their help. So they've done more for me than anybody ever has, and probably anybody ever will. And to have George on the team, it's pretty incredible. I think people probably would have said that we were crazy when we first started this thing, and we had both of our age combined still is lower than the second youngest team owner. So just really puts it in perspective how good George has done and how clean he's run this program. And obviously with the help from Andretti as well, it's been huge.
I know you've said in the past that you really enjoy New York City. Of course, IndyCar sending you guys for several media tours in the past. What have the Yankees and the Steinbrenners meant to you?
I grew up in northern Los Angeles, so I was always a Dodgers fan growing up, and going to games. And so that's kind of where my love for baseball came from. But I kind of fell out, stopped watching baseball. And then obviously when this thing picked back up, it brought me right back into the sport. So the Yankees mean a lot to me because I feel like they really brought me back into baseball. And yeah, I love watching baseball. I love being in New York City, going to games there. It's a pretty incredible feeling.
So now you guys get a chance to pay homage, of course, in this last virtual race this coming weekend. Now it will be about the Circuit of Americas, and you've had some success there in real life. Talk about getting a chance to go to a place where you got a big victory in your career.
Yeah, I think that's what kicked everything off. And for my career, becoming the youngest winner ever in the series, and then kind of proving me and George's point about why we're here and that we deserve to be here. So we get to race there virtually this Saturday. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'll probably hop on the simulator later this week and get dialed in.
This week, big news from the legend himself, maybe the greatest race car driver of all time, Mario Andretti, saying that you are the future of the sport. Hopefully you could comment a little bit about that high praise from such a great race car driver.
It's insane. Obviously, Mario Andretti not only being huge in the racing world, but just being a huge name in all of sports. So to have his praise like that, it really means a lot. And I think you got to still be settled in. You still got to keep your head down. And I understand what I'm here to do. And I'm just going to keep doing the best that I can.
Of course. Andretti won the Daytona 500, the Indy 500, and then the F1 championship. So one of the things that he admires most about you, and saying that he sees a lot of you and him growing up, is the fact that you're willing to race pretty much anywhere, anytime, any series. And you've also shown that in the sim racing now too, and being able to have success on that platform as well.
Yeah, I enjoy doing everything. I don't think there's really a car that I could think of that I wouldn't want to drive. And yeah, I would love to, along with the IndyCar stuff, I also get to do sports car races. Last year I won the 24 Hours of Daytona. And so I love being able to hop into something new and try and be competitive in that.
How difficult has it been now with this global pandemic to try to basically wait and prepare for what the next chapter might be?
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing. I think it's difficult for everyone. I think especially for us because we love what we do so much, so we don't want to take our time off of our jobs. And just waiting, counting down the days. So I'm hoping that this can start to die down. But in the meantime, putting work in where we can on the simulator, still training very hard for when we are ready to go back, that we'll be fit and ready to drive the car.
How shocking to you was it to hear the news that the Indianapolis 500 would not be run in the month of May, but moved to late August?
I don't think it really matters as long as it runs. Obviously, this is such a weird case that they're doing the best that they can with the cards that they've been dealt. So it's obviously a tough one. And yeah, I think they made the right decision. Obviously, it's going to be a completely different race in August with how much hotter it'll be, presumably, and so it'll be a completely different race, I think, than people are used to watching. So that could actually be very interesting in a way.
You pinch yourself sometimes when it comes to having this kind of success at such an early age? Because, I mean, you look at the names of race car drivers that have done so well early. I mean, some big names even now in the sports, Joey Logano in NASCAR and Max Verstappen in Formula One. I mean, you're with some pretty elite company.
Yeah, and I'm so lucky that I was able to get into this sport so early and then start winning so early, just because now I have hopefully a nice long career ahead of me that I have plenty of time to rack up a bunch of wins and hopefully make history.
Now, of course, before we let you go, you have two loves. It sounds like two passions in your life, and the first, of course, is racing, but the other would be music. Have you been able to take advantage of being able to play some more right now? I know you're a drummer in a band, and maybe having opportunities to do some of the other things outside of the sport of racing right now.
So I'm in a band. It's a punk band out where I live in northern Los Angeles. But yeah, I do have a lot more time now, so I can hop on the kit a lot more. Obviously, not really going outside for anything. And actually, in Los Angeles right now, you can't really go outside at all without wearing a mask or anywhere, or else you get written up and ticketed. So, yeah, so it's a lot right now. So I'm pretty happy just staying inside and playing my drums.
Well, stay safe, and we really appreciate you taking the time to spend some time with us this afternoon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Colton.
When taking public transportation, don't touch your phone. Carry hand sanitizer and use it immediately upon leaving the bus or train. Avoid touching your face. If someone is coughing or sneezing, move away. Wash your hands with soap and water as soon as possible. Limit contact with poles. If possible, avoid rush hour. Don't eat or drink on public transportation. Keep your bag off the floor or other surfaces. Avoid directly touching turnstiles. Stay up to date with the latest from your local health department and CDC.
Welcome back to OpenBXRX Remote. Our last guest is a dynamic singer-songwriter whose music infuses different aspects of her life. Her Afro-Dominican background and love for jazz and musical theater delivers a unique sound to the music scene. She's performed at Harlem Sylvana, the Bowery Electric, and Rockwood Music Hall, and that's just to name a few. And she's here to share more about her music and her favorite place to play music. Please welcome Karen Abreu. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. How are you holding up?
So far, so good. You know, it's a scary time, and it's such a bizarre thing to be stuck at home and feel a little bit helpless, right? Like I want to help, but I don't really know how. I'm not a medical professional. So in that sense, it's been hard, but I'm also really grateful for online community and being able to keep in touch with friends and family despite all of this. So
well, that's a beautiful background you have there, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Love the greenery.
Thank you. I do love plants. I've been trying my hand at keeping a lot of them alive. So that's been the goal. And it's nice to be home now because I can actually like watch every new leaf that grows, which is sort of an exciting thing.
And it's also beautiful to be connected to nature indoors, right? Because right now we're being limited to our connection to nature.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I try to like, go to the park every now and then, but even there's a lot of people, so it's kind of, it doesn't feel exactly safe. So I've sort of had to limit that as well.
Yeah, I know. And then all the work you have to go through just to come back in the house. But moving on from that topic, let's talk about your favorite place to perform, which is there in your home.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was talking with you a little bit earlier just about how obviously it's such a shame and it's so sad that so many gigs are being canceled. I'm used to performing all around New York City. I actually had 3 gigs that were affected by closures due to COVID-19. And so that's really hard. But something that I'm finding a lot of solace in is that I do have a lot of happy memories and experiences performing here at home. So ever since I moved back to New York after college, I have been living in the same apartment, and it's been a really lovely place to gather people and do really casual shows, showcase friends of mine who are also artists, and kind of have the camaraderie and the creativity that that artists can share together in. So in some ways, like moving those kinds of shows to the online space hasn't been that different because I'm still here at home. But I do miss having them here.
Yeah, but it's not the same as having the physical energy in the immediate space.
Yeah.
But I get that it's still functionable for you.
Yeah.
So what is this, like secret? I know of what is the name of this organization that has these secret events or secret gatherings where they have a select few singers and then they bring in an audience, and I don't even know how you become a member of that. Do you know what's the name of that?
Yeah, so it's called So Far Sounds, and it's an organization that started in the UK actually. And so I think the story is that like some friends went to a show together at a bar. It was so loud, so noisy, so crowded. They couldn't even hear the artist. And they were like, well, we don't want to go to shows like that. We want to go to shows where we can hear the artist perform. The audience is silent. The audience is asking questions if there's time. They're engaging with the music and with the artists in a different and more personal way. I think So Far is like in more than 300 cities now. And so the idea is that they bring artists into kind of unconventional performance spaces. So I've performed at like clothing stores. I've performed at like breweries. I've performed at like an empty warehouse. And so there are a lot of cool kind of niche spaces. And as far as getting involved, if you're a performer and you want to be in like So Far's registry of artists that they tap into, you can basically go to their site and apply. They have an application form. And if you're someone that has like a really cool space, once we can obviously gather again, you can actually also
sooner than later.
But you can also apply to host in your space. So one of the shows I did was in a Bushwick apartment, and these people had like a huge apartment. I think 8 of them lived together. So they had this huge living room. So we did it like in their living room. People sat on the floor on like different rugs and carpets, and then we were at the front, right next to their TV. So it's a really cool organization. And you know, a lot of the shows I do here at home, I'm sort of drawing inspiration from that. Yeah, so it's a really cool organization.
It's awesome. And thank you for sharing all the details behind that whole I guess organization. But the blessing here today is that you're in your home and you're going to treat us to your sound, right?
I am. I'm so excited. So I'm actually born and raised in the Bronx, New York. I live in Brooklyn now, but that's only as of the last 4 years. And when I started making music here in New York, I really wanted to pay homage to the place that built me, that like made me the artist, the creative, the person that I am. And so I was thinking like, how do I incorporate all of that? I want to incorporate family. I want to incorporate the specific noises of the Bronx. I want to incorporate the feel and kind of the swagger of the Bronx. So I wrote a song called The Boogie.
The Boogie.
Yeah. And I'm excited to play it for you guys today.
Yeah, you're going to play BX in the house, baby. All right, you people, here to pay homage to the Bronx. Here to sing The Boogie. Let's give it up for Karen Abreu.
Thank you so much.
Another night under traffic
slides in the Bronx where I was born. A car drives by off of Gun Hill Road and I can hear him playing reggaeton. Cause my bro is like its own damn city. My bro, even when it ain't pretty. My bro, it's got its own personality. I said my bro is like its own little city. My bro, even when it ain't pretty. My bro, it's got its own personality. Welcome to the boogie, where we play dominoes, y hablamos español. Welcome to the boogie, we got art for free, check out the graffiti. Welcome to the boogie, we like our coffee sweet, we're dancing in the streets. Welcome to the boogie, the boogie, the boogie. The Bronx is in me. Wow, the Bronx is in me. Wow, the Bronx is in me. Uh-oh, the Bronx is in me. It's always warm when my mama's home. The smell of rice and beans fills the air. When friends come by, we'll turn on the stove and make a little cafecito to share. My bro is like its own little city. My bro, even when it ain't pretty. My bro, it's got its own personality. I said my bro is like its own little city. My bro, even when it ain't pretty. My bro, it's got its own personality. Welcome to the boogie, where we play dominoes, y hablamos español. Welcome to the boogie, we've got art for free, check out the graffiti. Welcome to the boogie, we like our coffee city, we're dancing in the streets. Welcome to the boogie, the boogie, the boogie. The Bronx is in me. Uh-oh, the Bronx is in me. Oh, uh-oh, the Bronx is in me. Uh-oh, the Bronx is in me. Oh, welcome to the boogie. We play dominoes, ya hablamos español. Welcome to the boogie. We like a coffee sweet, we're dancing in the streets. Welcome to the boogie. We've got art for free, check out the graffiti. Welcome to the boogie, the boogie, the boogie. The Bronx is in me. That's it.
¡Qué orgullo! Oh my gosh, that was beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, you just made my day.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thanks. It's been really nice to sing that song here as well because, as you know, I'm in Brooklyn. My parents are in the Bronx. I haven't been able to see them. And it's hard, you know, I really miss them. I'm used to going up there twice a month, sometimes more.
Hopefully they'll be able to catch this on air. And it's like you're serenading them. Now, is this song available on iCloud?
It will be available on iTunes, Spotify, and Apple Music soon. So I actually just recorded an album in October. We've been mixing and mastering since then, and we should have everything out by beginning of summer. So I'm looking at like a June 1st date. So stay tuned.
Oh my gosh, congratulations to you. That, my dear, for me is a signature song. So, sigue pa'lante. Yes.
Gracias. Gracias.
All right. Thank you for being with us. Blessings to you. Stay blessed, healthy, and safe.
Thanks.
All right, you guys, once again, for more on Karen Abreu, you can check out her Instagram at Karen Abreu Music. That is our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through and to you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recablecast tonight, 24 hours a day at BrossNet.tv. And, well, you know, I'm Rena Valentin, and from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide paz, prosperity, y amor. And as I always say, stay blessed, healthy, and most importantly, stay safe. All right, adios, everybody.